So the biggest foreign policy moment of Donald Trump's presidency, maybe with the possible exception of him deciding to bomb Iran, comes today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Alaska time, when Trump sits down face to face with Russian President Vladimir Putin to talk about the potential of bringing an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine. So I've got three things I want you to keep in mind as you think about this and as you watch what happens and then watch the aftermath. Okay. Number one thing to think about: Donald Trump is at heart, in his mind, a deal maker, and he is someone who badly wants this deal to happen, right? So remember, Trump on the campaign trail made this outlandish claim that he would end the war between Russia and Ukraine on his first day as president. That has not happened. He has since sort of tried to blame that on Putin, on Zelensky, on Joe Biden. But the point is, he wants to make a deal. He views this as absolutely critical to a real goal of his, which is to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I will note to people, Trump cold called the head of Norway, where they give out the Nobel Peace Prize, last week to chat him up about tariffs, but he also mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump wants to win this. There's a reason he keeps saying he solved 6 wars in 6 months, right? This, to him, is the crown jewel in that effort, that if he can bring a peace settlement between Russia and Ukraine, they can't help but give him the Nobel Peace Prize. And his even if that didn't exist, and it does, his natural instincts are to make deals. It's who he is, the art of the deal, right? That's who the guy believes himself to be. So he is inclined to want to make a deal, if not today, put the places in place to have that deal. Okay, that's number one to remember. Number two to remember, and this one's about, so the first one's about Trump, second one's about Putin. Putin is ex-KGB, right? And that really never leaves you. This is a guy who has fooled and baffled and befuddled American presidents for a long time now. Remember back to George W. Bush, and, I looked into his eyes and I saw his soul, and he's a good man. Even in this presidency, Donald Trump clearly came into the White House the second time believing that he could, if not manipulate Putin, he and Putin had a good enough relationship, and he had a measure of the man that he thought he could bring this conflict to an end sooner. Trump is obviously, I don't know if he's learned his lesson, but he's touched the hot stove several times, in that he has said publicly, I talked to Putin, he says he wants a deal, and then he bombs Kyiv, right? So this is a guy who is not to be trusted. This is a bad actor. This is a guy who isn't necessarily interested in a peace settlement. He is interested in expanding Russia's land area, right? I mean, he believes that Ukraine should just be part of Russia. And the other thing about Putin to remember is he is psychologically very smart. He understands what motivates Trump. He knows Trump wants to win the Nobel Peace Prize. He knows Trump wants to make a deal, right? Putin is not unaware of any of those things. In fact, he is hyper aware, I would argue, of all of those things. So that's Trump and Putin. Last thing I want you to keep an eye on. They are reportedly going to do a press conference after the two of them meet privately. Now, if you remember back to 2019, and if you don't, I'll remind you. In 2019, they met in Helsinki, Finland. They did a one-on-one. They met one-on-one. I think they spoke English in that, because Trump doesn't speak Russian, and then there was no translator. After that meeting, they had a press conference, and Trump was asked about Russian interference in the 2016 election, which his intelligence community had said at that point, yes, Russia absolutely actively meddled in the election. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, I asked Vladimir about it. He said he didn't do it, and I believe him. Basically taking Putin's side against the American intelligence community. Is there a moment like that in this expected press conference? Because remember, whatever the two talk about privately, sort of the way it plays out publicly in this press conference may matter as much, right? That may well set the tone of how people think this all went. So Watch Trump, the deal maker, wants a Nobel Prize. Watch Putin, the KGB agent, has fooled and befuddled American presidents, including Donald Trump, for a very long time now, and watch the press conference. What does Trump say? How does Putin respond? What does their relationship look like? And what is the takeaway from all of that? I'll be watching it closely. If there's any huge news, obviously I'll be back to report it. But those are things I think will make you smarter as you watch both the meeting and then the aftermath. I ask you to do one thing for me. Sign up to become a subscriber. Just hit that subscribe button. It's free. It ensures you get content like this every single day, and it helps me grow as an independent news creator. Thanks so much.